This is TV47. Happy holidays.
Good evening on TV47 News tonight. The death of another young doctor due to COVID-19 sparks anger among his colleagues as leaders clash on the fate of doctors and their welfare as they tackle the deadly virus. Also tonight, healthcare in many public hospitals across the country is in distress as the nationwide nurses and clinical officers strike enters day 2 with no solution in sight. Plus, 5 people killed in 2 separate road accidents. And Nairobi City County will be plunged into uncharted waters if not, the Senate will ratify Governor Mike Sonko's impeachment. The details here tonight. Tonight of all nights, Anne Wairimu is our sign language interpreter. TV47 News tonight with me, Abubakar Abdullahi, begins right now. To our top story. As healthcare workers down their tools, the critical state of healthcare workers during this COVID-19 pandemic has elicited mixed reactions. Barely a day after ODM leader Raila Odinga brushed off doctors' demands, Deputy President William Ruto has said that the government needs to set its priorities right, warning that the health services may be crippled if the demand of healthcare workers are not met. With nurses and clinical officers downing their tools, the looming healthcare nightmare in the country has aroused mixed reactions across the country. Speaking during the burial ceremony of retired Lieutenant Colonel John Koech in Ainamoi constituency in Kericho County, Deputy President William Ruto has asked the government to give precedence to the healthcare workers' needs, warning that the situation may soon escalate.
We are in the middle of a pandemic, a health pandemic that has also created a very serious financial crisis. To be able to deal with the financial crisis and the health pandemic, our focus should be on how to manage and deal effectively with the challenge of the health pandemic.
For close to a year now, healthcare workers through their various unions have been protesting against lack of protective gear and delayed salaries. They have also been calling for the employment of additional frontline healthcare workers as well as increased risk allowances. However, ODM leader Raila Odinga has called out the doctors for abandoning duty, saying that the economy has been badly hit by the coronavirus disease.
All that I want to do is to appeal to our doctors to be more understanding. We are in a crisis at the moment. People are dying. The doctors, it's not only doctors who are dying, ordinary Kenyans are also dying of this COVID. And we are also in a dire situation in as far as the economy is concerned.
Hiyo statement alisema ati madaktari msisumbue watu, sio nyinyi peke yenu mnakufa, hata sisi tutakufa. Mwambie kama mzee mwenye tunaheshimu as a part of the club of retired politician, a correct hiyo maneno.
Meanwhile, Parliamentary Health Committee Chairperson Sabina Chege has said that the August House has given the Ministry of Health 14 days to pay healthcare workers, further urging county governments to pay healthcare workers who are on their payrolls.
Tulipitisha kwenye bunge, tukapatia Ministry of Health siku 14 wawe wamehakikisha kwamba yale mambo ambayo waaguzi hao walikuwa wamesema wangetaka yatimizwe yametimizwa. Kwa hivyo ombi langu ni ministry tukikutana siku ya Alhamisi wawe wamemalizana jukumu lao, pia jukumu la county governors, kwa sababu wengi ambao wako kwenye counties wako directly under the governors.
If the current health nightmare is not solved soon, the country may find itself in the middle of another crisis, with Kenyans missing out on life-saving healthcare services. Musa Salah, TV47.
Still on matters healthcare, and Mombasa County healthcare workers who have been on a strike for the 4th week now have joined the nationwide strike. They complained that the government is not providing them with the right PPEs to protect them from contracting COVID-19 while in the line of duty. They also decry the lack of compensation for families of colleagues who have lost their lives due to the pandemic. Fatma Ngwena with the details.
This is the current situation at Mombasa's main hospital, the Coast General Hospital, and across the country following a strike by healthcare workers that began Monday. Solidarity forever. Healthcare workers from Mombasa County, including clinical officers and nurses, lit the candles as they remember their colleagues who succumbed to COVID-19 while in line of duty. Power. Power. According to Franklin Makanga, a representative of clinical officers in Mombasa County, lack of PPEs is unsafe for them and leads to many of them losing their lives.
Na sisi tuendelea kwa nyumbani mpaka ile masuala yote mengine yaweze kushughulikiwa. Pili ni kwamba corona ipo. Na kama ipo hatutaweza kuhatarisha maisha yetu, kwa sababu sasa hii wanasema watu wengine warudi kazini ili waweze kwenda isolation center. Sisi tunasema hawatakuja. Wacha kwanza mgomo iishe, masuala yetu yashughulikiwe, ndio tutarudi kuja kuwahudumia. Hatuko tayari kupoteza tena mfanyikazi wa afya yeyote. Hatuko tayari kupoteza any clinical officer kwa hii county kwa sababu ya corona. Hatuko tayari kupoteza nasi yeyote kwa sababu ya corona.
The clinical officers and nurses say that despite the government claiming that it has budgeted enough money for the health sector, they have not received any of it.
Hii pesa ni ikiwa nataka kufanya ile stimulation ya economy, ni kwamba sisi ni mojawapo ya wale ambao tunahitaji kupewa hizi pesa tuweze kuziweka kwa economy. Kwa hivyo na tungeomba kwamba zile pesa ambazo wametenga pale kwa afya waweze kuhakikisha kwamba zimeingia kwa mfuko wetu sisi wahudumu wa afya ambao tunaathirika wakati huu.
They now want Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho, who is currently politically based in Kwale County, in campaigns following the forthcoming Msambweni by-elections, to be responsible and pay them their salaries for the past 6 months.
So the governor and the county government and now the national government should take responsibility. My brother said this country has money to do other irrelevant or non-priority things. Like the BBI, they're pushing this thing down our throats. But we want to remind them the health of this nation is far important than any other issue they are trying to push.
Similar sentiments were expressed by healthcare workers in Kisumu County.
When we die to the government, we are a data. But when we die to our family members, they have no replacement for us.
I want to urge the members of the public that as we speak now, we have no clinical officers, we have no nurses in the facilities, and so as you go to those facilities, you must know that I don't know who is going to attend to you. If you have patients in the wards, work as fast as possible and withdraw those patients from the wards.
Nurses from Mombasa County and nationwide say they'll carry on with the strike until the government fulfill their grievances, which include distribution of PPEs and compensation to families of nurses that have lost their lives since the start of COVID-19 pandemic. Reporting for TV47, I'm Fatma Ngwena, Mombasa.
Now, with Senate Speaker Ken Lusaka set to convene a special sitting tomorrow that will decide on how to go about Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko's impeachment, the fate of Nairobi hangs in the balance. Speculations are tonight rife on the possible scenarios that could play out if Sonko is impeached or if the Senate offers the embattled governor a second chance. And as our reporter David Mudhoka reports, the pull and push for the city leadership already threatens to plunge the city into a dire crisis.
Barely days after 88 MCAs at City Hall issued embattled Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko a vote of no confidence, all eyes are set on the Senate that could either land the final nail on Sonko's impeachment coffin or offer the first-time governor a much-desired lifeline. Sonko becomes the third governor to be shown the door at county assembly level by members of the county assembly in a span of 12 months after former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu and Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru. The Senate is supposed to decide on how it will hear Sonko's impeachment on Wednesday. It could either settle for an 11-member committee like it did with Waiguru or opt for a committee of the whole House like it did against Waititu. Either way, should the Senate find Sonko guilty of abuse of office, violation of the Constitution and gross misconduct, Sonko will become the second governor to be impeached after Waititu. Without a deputy governor to take over, his exit could however spur the city into a leadership crisis. James Mamboleo, an advocate of the High Court, explains.
However, should the Senate finally uphold the impeachment of the governor, of course, then you know the process that kicks in as established by the Constitution is that essentially the deputy governor is supposed to take over for the remainder of the term. Now, Nairobi is in a special circumstance in which it does not have a deputy governor.
Mamboleo further rules out that neither Sonko's former second-in-command Polycarp Igathe nor Sonko's latest nominee for the deputy governor position, Anne Mwenda, can legitimately take over.
If anyone raises the question whether Igathe did not resign or not, the simple answer is this. So where has he been for the past, I think, more than 2 years? Anne Mwenda, to become deputy governor of Nairobi County, first and foremost, she needed to be vetted by the county assembly and approved, which did not happen.
Doubt has further been cast on the legality of Nairobi Metropolitan Services post Sonko's tenure, with the General Mohamed Abdallah Badi-led body having been birthed by an agreement between Sonko and the national government. But Mamboleo insists that NMS will still remain alive and will legally post Sonko, and that even the latter's exit does not put the legitimacy of NMS under any jeopardy.
When a county governor enters into an agreement in writing that has legal force in Kenya, like the deed that establishes the Nairobi Metropolitan Services scenario, then they do not do so in their personal capacity as governor. They do that and they bind the county for as long as that agreement subsists.
On the flip side, though, should the Senate save Sonko's skin, Mamboleo has warned that Nairobians should brace for a tumultuous reign, insisting that the governor could face an uphill task, appeasing Nairobi residents as well as the very county assembly that overwhelmingly hung Sonko out to dry. With the Senate expected to kickstart the next and final phase of embattled Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko's impeachment, it is just but a matter of days before the verdict that either saves or shows Sonko the door is out. David Muthoka, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, David Mudhoka, for that report. Elsewhere, students at Friends Lugulu Girls held peaceful demonstrations in protest of sexual molestation by men who allegedly have been entering the school at night. The girls are accusing the school's management for sweeping the grave matter under the carpet. Mike Kagwongo has the details.
This is Lugulu Girls High School, Webuye West constituency in Bungoma County. Attempted rape has been reported in the school, students claiming to have seen a naked man in one of the bathrooms. The incident prompted the learners to report to the school principal Dina Cheriot, who they say failed to act on the matter.
Kuna msichana shule tukaribua repiwe. She was naked in the bathroom na amekujua na mbaba naked and he alimuingiza mkono kwa mdomo, and then this school is telling us tukayagia story. Our principal is telling us that we are behaving like class 1 pupils. And this is not that because we are telling her the truth. She told us that it is our fault. We are will let such an occasion just go with water hivyo. Msichana alikuwa attacked kwa sanity. Hakuna hapo kitu kama indecent dressing yenye watu wata protest ama ati lesbianism ama nini. Maana hata hakukimbia, alitembea tu pole akachukua nguo akaenda. So this is an inside job. So then alikuja akachukua those crops. And we know normally tumeambiwa don't tamper with evidence. Sisi tulikuwa tunadhani wataingia sanity watoe Cheryl wampeleke hosi immediately. Alafu walock hiyo sanity ndio tungoje polisi wakuje. But these people waliingia huko ndani, they took the crocs na wakaosha.
They decided to save themselves by staging peaceful demonstrations. They feel insecure and want the school to beef up security, saying their lives are in danger.
Fence iko na shimo. Huyu man akakuja akapitia hiyo shimo, akakuja kwa house ya Muliro. Akaenda akazima switch. Hizo switch ziko ndani ya house. Hakuna mtu anajua pali hiyo switch iko, ni wanafunzi tu. Meaning this person has been around, amekuwa kitu monitor. Either he's a worker ama amekuwa tu akiingia akisneak in.
Officials from education and security agencies led by Bungoma County Deputy Education Quality Assurance Caleb Omondi called for calm as investigations into the matter begin.
We've listened to your grievances and we want to assure you that the relevant officers are informed and I'm sure they'll respond appropriately. And we'll ask for patience because decisions cannot be made in one day.
The Ministry of Education will do its part, and because you have raised issues that are criminal in nature, we have the police here. They'll also take their role, also do their investigation.
Some parents, among them Mukasa Kilwake, want security intensified in schools, fearing that many of them may be grappling with insecurity.
Kuna shule zingine zinaweza kuwa ziko na hii problem kama ya Gulu Girls. Na security, kama kuna police posts zenye ziko within, please, they should work in tandem with the school administration. Tena CS Makoha lazima ajue ya kwamba watoto wakiwa shuleni security ya watoto iwepo.
By the time we prepared this story, DCI had begun interrogating the students. For TV47 from Bungoma, I'm Mike Kagwongo.
Thank you, Mike Kagwongo, for that report. You are watching TV47 News Tonight with me, Abubakar Abdullahi. We are taking a short break. We still have a lot lined up for you. Don't go too far. Stay tuned.
Wajuao walisema kwamba jina jema hung'aa hata gizani.
Na vilevile wakasema bora ni bora iliyoboreshwa, na habari za TV47 zinazidi kuimarika kila kuchapo.
Tunasanzuka na kutamba ili kuhakikisha tunaweka bayana taarifa kemkem zenye usawa na mantiki.
Katika mida ya alasiri kabla ya jua kutua, kutoka County 001 na kupeperushia shina la upeo.
Na inapowadia saa 1 kamili,
nachukua usukani kukufahamisha
na kukupeperushia taarifa ipasavyo.
Tutakueleza ni kipi kilichojiri na wahusika ni wepi.
Ungana nasi kila siku ya wiki tukujuze, kwani usilolijua ni kama usiku wa giza.
If we had not gone into PPEs right now, we wouldn't be having this opportunity to tell the story of how Equity helped the local sector. There's a lot more that we can do locally. Let's explore and let's see what we can do.
Equity, bega kwa bega.
Wajuao walisema kwamba jina jema hung'aa hata gizani.
Na vilevile wakasema bora ni bora iliyoboreshwa, na habari za TV47 zinazidi kuimarika kila kuchapo.
Tunasanzuka na kutamba ili kuhakikisha tunaweka bayana taarifa kemkem zenye usawa na mantiki.
Katika mida ya alasiri kabla ya jua kutua, kutoka County 001 na kupeperushia shina la upeo.
Na inapowadia saa 1 kamili,
nachukua usukani kukufahamisha
na kukupeperushia taarifa ipasavyo.
Tutakueleza ni kipi kilichojiri na wahusika ni wepi.
Ungana nasi kila siku ya wiki tukujuze, kwani usilolijua ni kama usiku wa giza.
If we had not gone into PPEs right now, we wouldn't be having this opportunity to tell the story of how equity helped the local sector. There's a lot more that we can do locally. Let's explore and let's see what we can do.
Equity, bega kwa bega.
Wajuao walisema kwamba jina jema hung'aa hata gizani.
Na vilevile wakasema bora ni bora iliyoboreshwa, na habari za TV47 zinazidi kuimarika kila kuchapo. Tunasanzuka na kutamba ili kuhakikisha tunaweka bayana taarifa kemkem zenye usawa na mantiki.
Katika mida ya alasiri kabla ya jua kutua, kutoka kaunti 001 na kupeperushia shina la upeo.
Na inapowadia saa 1 kamili,
nachukua usukani kukufahamisha
na kukupeperushia taarifa ipasavyo.
Tutakueleza ni kipi kilichojiri na wahusika ni wepi.
Ungana nasi kila siku ya wiki tukujuze, kwani usilolijua ni kama usiku wa giza.
If we had not gone into PPEs right now, we wouldn't be having this opportunity to tell the story of how equity helped the local sector. There's a lot more that we can do locally. Let's explore and let's see what we can do.
Equity. This is TV47. Happy holidays.
Welcome back. Now, the death of 28-year-old Dr. Stephen Mogusu has elicited mixed reactions from various stakeholders in the health sector. And Weria's KMPDU has come out to express their deepest regrets and sorrows for the loss of yet another young doctor. The county government of Machakos has disowned the fallen doctor, claiming he was not under the devolved unit. Zainab Mohammed now reports.
The death of 28-year-old Dr. Stephen Mogusu is one that has elicited mixed emotions from all over the country, with different stakeholders reacting differently to the demise of the young father of one.
I'm sad. I'm bleeding inside.
On one hand, aggrieved KMPDU officials have come out to give the government an ultimatum just one day after the postponement of their strike to the 21st of December. The officials swearing that they will not dismiss their strike this time round should the 14 period elapse without a conclusive agreement.
Healthcare workers in this country have raised grave concerns on their plight and the hazardous working environments in the times of COVID-19. And I'll say it clearly. KMPDU supports the industrial action by the Kenya National Union of Nurses and the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. Remain on strike until these demands are met. And we reiterate this. We suspended our industrial action for 14 days. 13 days to go today.
The union further claims that the deceased, who struggled to get financial aid for treatment during his last moments, died without receiving a single month's pay for 5 months.
I personally have tried all attempts since Wednesday last week to get the deceased doctor help. I have been in touch with that family, the wife, who also happens to be a doctor, who is out of employment since Wednesday. I was with them yesterday at Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital up until 8 p.m. They had to fundraise as a class for 200,000 deposit to the ICU.
However, the Machakos County government has refuted claims that the fallen doctor was an employee of the devolved unit, saying that Mugusu was among 16 medical doctors who were seconded to the county by the Ministry of Health to aid in the war against COVID-19.
This issue is being handled also by national government. So the issue of how the medical bills will be sorted, that one I cannot talk about authoritatively. But what I know is that friends, colleagues through KMA.
Meanwhile, the government continues to insist that it is doing all it can to secure the lives of the health workers in the country during this COVID-19 pandemic. CIS Mwangangi even claiming that the government requires more time to address all the issues presented by the medical fraternity.
We have 117 doctors hired under this program. And as we do the counts and checks and balances, we have 15 more remaining who have outstanding dues, and we are working to endeavor to ensure that their salaries and arrears are paid. Of over the 9,000 healthcare workers hired under the UHC program, approximately 8,600 of them have been paid their dues, including all their arrears for the period worked.
This even as the country records a total of 521 new COVID-19 cases, 425 recoveries, and 14 new deaths. Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Where police officers in Kawaida village in Kiambu County had a tough time to salvage one man by the name John Mwangi, who allegedly stabbed his wife severely to death on Monday night. Elsewhere, 5 people have died in 2 separate accidents in Kisumu and Garissa counties. Nanok Lorraine has the details.
2 people died in a road accident on the busy Kisii-Kisumu highway after a vehicle they were traveling in plunged into the Sondu Miriu River Tuesday afternoon. According to Nyabondo Mission Hospital Deputy Administrator Vincent Osike, police brought 13 people to Sigowet Hospital after the accident that involved a 14-seater matatu, which was heading to Eldoret, collided with a lorry which was ferrying mattresses towards Kisii.
Today at around about 1 p.m., we received 13 accident victims from brought in by the police. There were 2 died on the spot when they arrived. We received 4 children, 3 women, and 5 men.
Elsewhere in Garissa County, 1 boda rider and 2 female passengers died on the spot Tuesday morning in a grisly road accident when their motorbike rammed into an oncoming bus some 2 kilometers from Garissa town on the Garissa-Nairobi highway. The accident that attracted hundreds of curious onlookers from the neighboring Madogo and Mororo areas threatened to burn down the bus from Mombasa Sacco that was headed to Nairobi.
Tumepoteza watu watatu leo kwa hiyo ajali, na karibu kila wiki watu wengi sana wamepotea kwa hiyo kona.
Sisi hatutaki mambo ya makesi ya mangari. Hii ngari inaendeshwa na binadamu, pikipiki ni binadamu, wote wanatafuta riziki. Hakuna mtu atafuti riziki.
And in Kiambu County, outraged residents of Kiambaa constituency took immediate action to punish one John Mwangi, suspected of stabbing his wife to death. Confirming the brutal incident, Kiambaa head of police Michael Moshiri said that the use of drugs may have led to the conflict.
Hadhiriwa naitwa Monica Wairimo, 48 years, ambaye ameuawa na bwanake. Bwanake anaitwa John Mwangi, ni mzee wa miaka 56.
Tunadhani ni pengine alikuwa ametumia dawa za kulevya. Kuna pombe za chang'aa, zingine za kupimwa.
The body of the deceased, aged 48, was taken to Kihara Hospital mortuary as investigations continue. Nanok Lauren, TV47.
May their souls rest in eternal peace. Now, what was the last thing that your neighbor sold to you, and did it affect you, if at all it did? I ask you that question bearing in mind to this, that 8 family members from Marinda village in Matungu constituency are still nursing stomach pains after eating, listen to these, beans which they bought from their neighbor. Investigations are underway to establish if the neighbor and another person had poisoned the cereals. Mike Kagwongo has that story.
It is at Mr. Shaban Ramadan's home where his wife, their 5 children and himself are nursing excruciating stomach pains after eating beans believed to have been poisoned. Ramadan's wife says her desire to help a mother from the neighborhood get money by buying the beans from her landed her family into this unbearable pain.
Mama alikuja kaniambia ako na shida ninunueko maharagwe, na nikampea pesa ya maharagwe na nikapatia mume wangu akaanza kuokota hiyo maharagwe. Alipomaliza mtoto wangu Dorcas akafanya nini, akaanza kupika. Sasa alipopika watoto wakaanza kukula. Sasa kijana akaanza kulia tumbo, yeye ndiye alitangulia, akaanza kulia tumbo. Aya, huyo tena msichana mwenye alipika huyo tena akaanza kulia tumbo, inamuuma na anataka kutapika.
Maharagwe ilikuja peke yake na mchele wakanunua kwa duka, lakini mchele wenye walinunua wakila bila maharagwe hakuna chochote ambacho kimetendeka kwao.
After Ramadan's family boiled the beans and feasted on them, they started experiencing stomach aches as other members started vomiting and having running stomachs.
Venye nilifika jioni wakapika ugali na samaki. Mimi nikasema sifili kula, lakini nafili tu kutapika na nafili kuenda choo. Pia baba akasema pia afili kukula na nafili tu kutapika, na ukumbe huko juu bradanga alikuwa ameshindwa kabisa.
They attribute the incident to a feud between them and another neighbor who they believe used the beans vendor to get back at them.
Leo ni kama mtu alitumia huyo mama mwenye maharagwe huyo juu, hata huyo mama ile bei aliyeuzia maharagwe haistahili kuzika hivyo. Niliposikia aliuzia maharagwe ilikuwa 100 shilingi 100, ambapo maharagwe sio 100 sasa 200.
Tuna mjomba wangu mwingine hapo chini ambaye bibi yake alikosoa mtoto wangu atenatembea na yeye, na hapo chini ule mtu mwenye alikosoa mtoto wangu bibi yake ana urafiki sana na mwenye alinusia maharagwe. Ana urafiki sana mwenye alinusia maharagwe. Sasa nahofia katika ile itikati ya huyo mama kukuwa na mimi hali namna hiyo, nahofia ya kwamba huenda akashikiana na yeye akampatia maharagwe.
They want the incident investigated since the diagnosis they had at the hospital showed that they had been poisoned.
Kuna kijana alikuja kwangu kuniulizia kama mtu anaweza patikana kwa kununua maharagwe. Nikamwambia mimi sina pesa, leta ya maharagwe utapata mtu. Nilipoleta maharagwe huyo mama akanipatia pesa, mimi nikarudi nyumbani. Sasa leo asubuhi mamangu muko amekuja kuniuliza maharagwe ulipeana uliuzia kwa namasi, na hiyo maharagwe wamesema imeleta shida. Nikamwambia mama, wacha niende nilete mwenye alileta hiyo maharagwe.
For TV47, I'm Mike Kagwongo.
And we wish them the best of luck in their journey to recovery. You're watching TV47 News Tonight with me, Abubakar Abdullahi. Keep talking to us. The hashtag to use is TV47 News. Send us a message on 22047. Mark Omolo says security lapses in a school. Shemi says Henry Osembo watching TV47 from Ruben. Mark Omolo says watching from Kisumu. Eunice Adhiambo says tuned in from Kisumu as well. Tankwal Jeff Chelal on Facebook says tuned. Seth on Facebook says watching from Kisumu City as well. We are taking a short break. We still have a lot lined up for you. We'll be back after this break.
Wajuao walisema kwamba jina jema hung'aa hata gizani.
Na vilevile wakasema bora ni bora iliyoboreshwa, na habari za TV47 zinazidi kuimarika kila kuchapo. Tunasanzuka na kutamba ili kuhakikisha tunaweka bayana taarifa kemkem zenye usawa na mantiki.
Katika mida ya alasiri kabla ya jua kutua, kutoka kaunti 001 na kupeperushia shina la upeo.
Na inapowadia saa 1 kamili,
nachukua usukani kukufahamisha
na kukupeperushia taarifa ipasavyo.
Tutakueleza ni kipi kilichojiri na wahusika ni wepi.
Ungana nasi kila siku ya wiki tukujuze, kwani usilolijua ni kama usiku wa giza.
If we had not gone into PPEs right now, we wouldn't be having this opportunity to tell the story of how Equity helped the local sector. There's a lot more that we can do locally. Let's explore and let's see what we can do.
Equity, bega kwa bega.
Wajuao walisema kwamba jina jema hung'aa hata gizani.
Na vilevile wakasema bora ni bora iliyoboreshwa, na habari za TV47 zinazidi kuimarika kila kuchapo.
Tunasanzuka na kutamba ili kuhakikisha tunaweka bayana taarifa kemkem zenye usawa na mantiki.
Katika mida ya alasiri kabla ya jua kutua, kutoka kaunti 001 na kupeperushia shina la upeo.
Na inapowadia saa 1 kamili,
nachukua usukani kukufahamisha
na kukupeperushia taarifa ipasavyo.
Tutakueleza ni kipi kilichojiri na wahusika ni wepi.
Ungana nasi kila siku ya wiki tukujuze, kwani usilolijua ni kama usiku wa giza.
If we had not gone into PPEs right now, we wouldn't be having this opportunity to tell the story of how Equity helped the local sector. There's a lot more that we can do locally. Let's explore and let's see what we can do.
Equity, bega kwa bega.
Wajuao walisema kwamba jina jema hung'aa hata gizani.
Na vilevile wakasema bora ni bora iliyoboreshwa, na habari za TV47 zinazidi kuimarika kila kuchapo.
Tunasanzuka na kutamba ili kuhakikisha tunaweka bayana taarifa kemkem zenye usawa na mantiki.
Katika mida ya alasiri kabla ya jua kutua, kutoka kaunti 001 na kupeperushia shina la upeo.
Na inapowadia saa 1 kamili,
nachukua usukani kukufahamisha
na kukupeperushia taarifa ipasavyo.
Tutakueleza ni kipi kilichojiri na wahusika ni wepi.
Ungana nasi kila siku ya wiki tukujuze, kwani usilolijua ni kama usiku wa giza.
If we had not gone into PPEs right now, we wouldn't be having this opportunity to tell the story of how Equity helped the local sector. There's a lot more that we can do locally. Let's explore and let's see what we can do.
Equity, bega kwa bega.
Wajuao walisema kwamba jina jema hung'aa hata gizani.
Na vilevile wakasema bora ni bora iliyoboreshwa, na habari za TV47 zinazidi kuimarika kila kuchapo.
Tunasanzuka na kutamba ili kuhakikisha tunaweka bayana taarifa kemkem zenye usawa na mantiki.
Katika mida ya alasiri kabla ya jua kutua, kutoka kaunti 001 na kupeperushia shina la upeo.
Na inapowadia saa 1 kamili,
nachukua usukani kukufahamisha
na kukupeperushia taarifa ipasavyo.
Tutakueleza ni kipi kilichojiri na wahusika ni wepi.
Ungana nasi kila siku ya wiki tukujuze, kwani usilolijua ni kama usiku wa giza.
If we had not gone into PPEs right now, we wouldn't be having this opportunity to tell the story of how equity helps the local sector. There's a lot more that we can do locally. Let's explore and let's see what we can do.
Equity, bega kwa bega.
Wajuao walisema kwamba jina jema hung'aa hata gizani.
Na vilevile wakasema bora ni bora iliyoboreshwa, na habari za TV47 zinazidi kuimarika kila kuchapo. Tunasanzuka na kutamba ili kuhakikisha tunaweka bayana taarifa kemkem zenye usawa na mantiki.
Katika mida ya alasiri kabla ya jua kutua, kutoka kaunti 001 na kupeperushia shina la
This is TV47. Happy holidays.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's get to more stories now. And the credit guarantee scheme agreement between the government and 7 participating commercial banks has given Kenyan small and medium-sized enterprises hope despite the gloom brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. The agreement is aimed at enhancing access to credit for SMEs through an 8-point stimulus package of 3 billion shillings capital approved by the National Assembly. John Maina reports.
The partnership of credit guarantee between the Kenyan government and the 7 participating commercial institutions, including KCB, DTB, NCBA, Cooperative, Stanbic, Credit Bank and ABSA, intends on improving MSMEs' access to credit their operational and growth needs, protecting jobs created in the sector, and cushioning the market from the shocks of the COVID-19 pandemic. Over 7.4 million MSMEs in the country employ 14.9 million Kenyans and contribute up to 40% of the Kenyan gross domestic product.
The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics indicate that over 7.4 million of MSMEs in the country, which employs 14.9 million Kenyans in various sectors of the economy and contributes about 40% to GDP. So you can imagine how delicate and how important this sector can be. 40% of an economy are contributed by this sector.
The Ministry of Industrialization officials have insisted on the need of this program, saying that the interventions were necessary in order to caution MSMEs against the impact of COVID-19.
MSMEs in Kenya represent an important proportion of economic activities and livelihoods, constituting over 98% of all businesses in the country, while accounting for 30% jobs created annually, 34% of the GDP, and 12% of the manufacturing sector.
Chairman of the Kenya Bankers Association, Joshua Igara, confirmed that up to 30 to 40% of the credit is loaned to MSMEs, affirming that the credit guarantee scheme is a timely boost for the sector.
The lending for us as an industry, we will say between 30 and 40% of our lending goes into this segment, knowing that the industry is lending close to 2.6 trillion shillings so far.
This comes on the backdrop of many Kenyan commercial lenders announcing reduced earnings due to bad loans and huge loans defaults attributed to the tough economic time occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. Joan Maina, TV47.
Elsewhere, the UK government has doubled up efforts to tackle climate change. Speaking during a visit to the swollen Lake Baringo, British High Commissioner to Kenya, Jane Marriott, reaffirmed that the UK has doubled its commitment to provide international climate finance up to 1.7 trillion shillings to Kenya over the next 5 years. This comes even as residents living next to the Lake Baringo experience rapid water rises in the area. Lynette Gidwa reports.
The life of a lake whose sterling reputation pervaded the vicinity stands in the brink of oblivion. Lake Baringo, a freshwater lake which has sustained thousands of residents for many years, has submerged shops, markets, health centers and schools. This has left over 5,000 people destitute and displaced. During a visit to Lake Bogoria, British High Commissioner to Kenya, Jean Marriott, noted the deplorable state of the lake. She affirmed the UK government has committed 1.7 trillion shillings in a bid to assist Kenya mitigate the imminent climate change in the next 5 years.
The UK as a whole has now committed 1.7 trillion shillings, Kenyan shillings equivalent, to climate financing to try and help stop, mitigate, support adaptability and resilience, but most of all long-term planning. We've known this lake here has had flooding potential for over a decade. Where are the plans? How can we work together and support those?
As it stands, Lake Baringo has risen over 42 inches since the month of May. There is even a bigger conundrum. High fears of the joining of Lake Baringo, a freshwater lake, and Lake Bogoria, a salty water lake, looms. This creating an impending disaster.
If you look at what is happening here, we have a freshwater lake here, and up there we have a saltwater lake. It is a phenomenon which is so dangerous that the ecosystem here can actually be destroyed. If we have the two lakes mixing, I'm assuring you, even the flamingos which fly from here to Lake Natron in South Africa will not be there. The natural products we are getting from the algae in this lake will not be there.
However, Vice President of the World Resources Institute and friend of COP26, Wanjira Maathai, has expressed concern over the state of preparedness in the country and called on the government to speed up locally led solutions, tackling the matter at hand before it's too late.
We need to think ahead and also learn from other countries. We're not the only ones going through this. So what is the exchange happening inter-Africa, intra-Africa, and of course internationally beyond our continent? So there's a lot of work to do, but it needs significant resources. Now, I've said many times that adaptation is going to be the most important thing we do. As a friend of COP26, I sure hope that this will be the COP where adaptation gets the sort of prominence it deserves. Because if we don't do it, we'll see this many times over. And it's just not acceptable. And again, as I said, delay and pay. It will cost us much, much more.
This comes amidst the quick and disastrous swelling of many lakes within the Rift Valley, a phenomenon that environmentalists have been unable to decipher. Lynette Gidwa, TV47.
Now let's get to Rwanda, where the narration of Rwanda's story by foreign media has often drawn criticism among Rwandans over the year. To change that narrative, a tourism campaign that will feature a cross-country journey to explore, discover little and rarely shown sceneries of the country, showcase the country and visually tell the story the Rwandan way will be launched soon in Rwanda. Our Kigali-based correspondent Diana Iriza reports.
Dubbed Rwanda Nziza, the campaign is an initiative of Rwanda Image, a local content agency co-founded by young photographers Innocent Ishimwe and Jean-Luc Habimana. Innocent Ishimwe, the co-founder of Image Rwanda, told TV47 that the campaign's main objective is to showcase and share the true image of Rwanda through photos, videos and storytelling.
Researched about Rwanda on the internet, then what I would find would be like, only pictures about genocide and all back then, till like mid-2015. So then I thought maybe to change that narrative was to be a landscape photographer. Normally I'm a landscape photographer, and I just thought that wouldn't be enough for myself to change that narrative. So I thought of founding a community of photographers, videographers like that. Then that's when I thought of Image Rwanda, and also to include other photographers, other visual artists.
In partnership with Rwanda Development Board, RDB, and their campaign Visit Rwanda, the project will involve a team of more than 100 narrative storytellers, photographers, videographers, digital content curator, researchers, historians, tour guides, and conservationists.
The project we are working on is the current Rwanda Nziza project, and this project will take more than a year. But because this is an aspect of tourism, then the next year we are also having another aspect let's say agriculture. Another following year, we do it on education, tech, like that. So it's a joint project, so that we're doing it in series.
Rwanda Ziza will provide an ideal platform for local photographers and visual content creators to show unseen Rwanda to the world. It will also be a strategic recovery plan for tourism to bounce back better from the COVID-19 pandemic.
When I talk of my work, I talk of my country. I always and will always portray my country in a better way, not the way other people outside the country want to portray Rwanda due to their, either political or personal benefits. So I'm here to stand for my country. So this is my photography. I'm not doing it to earn. I'm just doing it to change the narrative and showcase my country at its best.
Based correspondent Diana Iriza for that report. Time for us to get to the world of sports now. Let's bring in sportsman Dennis Otieno, who is on standby. Dennis, good evening.
Well, good evening, Abubakar. Well, a lot of sports is lined up tonight, among them being the UEFA Champions League getting to resume, with Juventus taking on Barcelona. Of course, this is going to bring together Lionel Messi against Cristiano Ronaldo. Of course, that being one of the stories that we're going to bring you tonight. Also, tonight, we explain to you the prospects of Peres Jepchirchir when it comes to the Tokyo Olympics and the strategy that she's going to employ to make sure that she registers good results. Now, this and more coming up in just a bit.
This is TV47. Happy holidays.
The Nyali Golf View is situated along Links Road, Nyali.
Wajuao walisema kwamba jina jema hung'aa hata gizani.
Na vilevile wakasema bora ni bora iliyoboreshwa, na habari za TV47 zinazidi kuimarika